All right, guys, we're going to get rocking and rolling on the show here shortly. Take a look at the screen for today's headlines. Take a look at the screen for today's headlines. Like and share the show if you can do us that favor. Like and share the show. T-minus 2 minutes till we start the program. Judah live on I Love CVille Facebook. Live on my personal Facebook, J-Dubs. We work hard for you. The only thing we ask in return is you help us spread the gospel by liking and sharing the show, please, though, if you could be so kind. We're going to cover the Henley Middle School protest from Friday. 9 kids were sent home. These 9 kids left school grounds, and Principal Verhoeven followed through on what he would said he would do as it applies to enforcement and punishment. Walter Henneke, welcome to the program. Walter, I think you're going to appreciate the topic of today's show. Well, appreciate that we're covering it. I don't think you're going to like the topic matter because, unfortunately, University of Virginia professors, researchers, TAs, grad assistants, support staff are probably now more commoditized than ever at the University of Virginia. You have a president that's at the top of the totem pole that basically UVA staff had no say in who was going to be named the president. You have the campus workers basically saying, hey, we're not even a part of collective bargaining now.
Yeah.
I mean, we can legitimately make an argument that UVA researchers, professors, support staff, grad assistants, TAs are more commoditized and marginalized than ever before right now at the University of Virginia. We'll talk about that on today's show. I want to offer some thoughts on the Tony Bennett court ceremony. I thought it was special. I mean, goodness gracious, does Tony Bennett not have the Midas touch, ladies and gentlemen? Everything this man does seems to have the Midas touch. We'll talk on today's program, anything and everything that you find compelling. You ready to rock and roll, Judah?
Yep.
All right. Start the program when you're ready. And you got YouTube set up the right way?
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. Good job.
Quiet on the set.
Welcome to the I Love CVille show, guys. My name is Jerry Miller, and thank you kindly for joining us on a Monday afternoon in downtown Charlottesville. It's a pleasure to connect with you on the water cooler of content and conversation here in Charlottesville, the University of Virginia, across Albemarle County, Central Virginia, and frankly, the Commonwealth. We've made a focus in 2026 of taking our content verticals and expanding them to include content that is more Commonwealth specific. We still tie that content to Central Virginia, but since we've kind of spread the content wings, if you may, the viewership and the listenership in 2026 has really escalated. We appreciate the support of what we do here. We work hard on this show, guys. We work really hard. The only thing we ask of you in return is that you like and share the show. So if you can do us the favor of hammering that like button right now, subscribing to the channel, leaving a comment in the comments section, that would mean the absolute world to us. Share the show, that would mean the world to us. It's the only thing we ask of you. A lot we're going to cover on the program. I'm going to give my thoughts on the Tony Bennett court naming ceremony. I mean, I thought it was special. I think everything Tony Bennett does is special. The man has the Midas touch, and the aspect of including all the signatures of all the players and assistant coaches and his support staff, the water boys, the trainers, the folks that hold the clipboards and the sweat towels in his name. I mean, can you consider a more selfless or being third act than that? There were photos that were circulating on social media of former players at UVA on the hardwood at the John Paul Jones Arena looking for their name and Tony Bennett's signature on the court. And it was special. It was so symbolic of who Coach Bennett is as a person. I want to offer some commentary on it because I was frankly, damn near close to moved to tears. And it takes a lot to get me, get me in the feelings and the emotions, but I did on Saturday. And then Virginia followed it up with one of its best wins of the season with Chance Mallory, ice cold. I mean, just like cooler than the other side of the pillow at the free throw line against Miami. I want to talk about the Henley Middle School ice truancy protest on the program today. 9 students were sent home. I'm curious if it's an official suspension. I have props I want to give to Rick Verhoeven and the Henley Middle School administration and their teachers. We hold folks accountable on the program, but we also try to give folks props where props is due. And Henley Middle School, without question, managed this ice truancy protest from this past Friday better than any of the 3 other protests. There's been 4 total that have transpired in Albemarle County and the city of Charlottesville over the last week and change. There was a plan in place. Only 9 kids left school grounds, and those 9 kids that left school grounds were sent home to their parents immediately. You got to give props to Rick Verhoeven. I'll give you some perspective on Rick Verhoeven on the program today. I've known Rick Verhoeven for 25 years, which is wild to say things like that. I'm going to talk about UVA professors on the program today. We can make a convincing argument that professors, assistant professors, teaching assistants, grad assistants, researchers at the University of Virginia are more commoditized and marginalized than they've ever been. And that's right now. You got Scott Beardsley as president. They had no say in who Beardsley was picked. Some say Beardsley was fast-tracked by a Youngkin board that was on its way out, a Youngkin board that was embattled at best, about to be pink-slipped more realistically. That Youngkin board picks Beardsley, who's got a corporate consulting background and not an academic background. Professors, assistant professors, researchers, grad students, they had zero say in it. Now they're removed from collective bargaining. We'll talk about that on the program today. More commoditized than ever, perhaps. That topic on the show. A lot we're going to cover. I'd like to highlight a partner of the show, Katie Mullins and her team at 919 Druid Avenue. Drove by 919 Druid Avenue this weekend. A beautiful Belmontonian house. Absolutely beautiful. You talk a basement apartment that's income and revenue generating. You talk a remodel that has been done with champagne taste and finishes and fixtures. The asking price at 919 Druid Avenue for a 4-bedroom, 3.5 bathroom bungalow in the city, $699,000. It's under coming soon. It's about to be live. I am extremely, extremely impressed with the upside and potential at 919 Druid Avenue, and see this home in just a matter of a few years being valued at considerably more than that. And that's because Katie Mullins, Ben Mullins, and Chris Coyner has just done an awesome job. Walk to the downtown mall to Belmont. You're talking Uber rides of like $5 or $10 elsewhere in the city. 919 Druid Avenue. Judah Wickhauer, studio camera, then a 2-shot, my friend. A lot we're going to cover on the show today. We'll start on the program as we welcome Tom Stargill and Vanessa Parkhill to the program, Randy O'Neill, Ron Crookshank to the program. Thank you. Ron, I believe you're a first-time watcher. If you are, let us know how you found out about the show. We appreciate your support. The headline that you find most intriguing and why, Judah Wickhauer?
I mean, I'm frankly pretty amazed that the Henley Middle School principal sent home the kids. But as you are, I'm impressed. And
thank God he did, because we're talking about middle schoolers here.
yeah.
It's very different when it happens at the middle school level than the high school level. I apologize for interrupting.
Yeah. Somebody, I think in the comments last week mentioned the fact that, oh, well, what about senior skip day? And there is a vast difference between someone between young men and women who are nearly adult and someone who's 13, 14 years
12.
old. Potentially.
Sixth graders are 12.
Yeah.
Some sixth graders are 11. Mm-hmm. Some are 11.
Yeah.
The Henley Middle School and Rick Verhoevac, the principal, I'm going to give you props to the teachers, the administration, and how this was handled. It was, of the 4 protests, the best managed so far. That in a matter of moments on the program. 9 students sent home. I'm curious if this is legitimately qualified or registered as an official suspension for the 9 students, because that is a mark on the permanent record.
Did the kids, how were they sent home?
They left grounds,
right,
school property, and that was explicitly explained in a letter to parents beforehand, the night before. If they do this, they will be sent home. I'm curious if those 9 students officially suspended. There was a additional protest planned for the 3 o'clock hour outside of the allocated protest window at Henley Middle School. And Rick Verhoevac and his team, the principal and his team, were there at the doors to meet the middle schoolers that had planned, had cahooted, had strategized, had organized a second protest and said, get your ass back to the classroom.
At 3 o'clock in the afternoon?
And kept it from
still
happening.
class at
Oh,
3
yes,
o'clock
Judah. So far removed you are from public school, especially middle school. Our 7-year-old goes
No
to
doubt.
school till after 3 o'clock, and he's in 2nd grade.
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it.
Middle schoolers are going to school much later than that, high school even later. So we'll talk about that on the program. A lot we're going to cover on the show. If you want to one-shot meet Tony Bennett, I want to get 2 or 3 minutes on what we saw on Saturday. Viewers and listeners, what were your thoughts? Here are mine. There's been so many acts of selflessness at our son's school. They call it being third. Our son's school is a private Christian school, and they prioritize what being third is: God, others, and then yourself. God, others, and yourself. This show is not about religion, but that's just what happens at our school, my son's school. God, others, and yourself. Tony Bennett very much embodies that. How many times have we seen in Tony Bennett's term and time in Charlottesville and at UVA, Coach Bennett embody the being third mindset? There was a time when Tony Bennett was in line for a sizable raise. His team was performing. He was winning championships. He was winning ball games. He was contending for conference tournament titles, conference championships. He was making deep runs in the NCAA, and he had hundreds of thousands of dollars prepared to be given to him for performance. He earned it. No one in the community and no one in Wahoo Nation would have said otherwise with Tony Bennett getting hundreds of thousands of dollars of more money. In fact, we probably would have all said, you are underpaid, coach. Tony Bennett in that time said, I don't want the hundreds of thousands of dollars. Give it to my assistant coaches instead. Absolutely wild selflessness there, right? Being third. Then we see on the court naming ceremony on Saturday, and it was beautifully done. His signature remembered forever on the court. The only thing that went wrong with that court naming ceremony is that his signature, his name, was not on 2 positions at the John Paul Jones Arena hardwood. It should have been on each half court. It was on 1. That surprised me. I'm not going to rain on the parade. Within the Tony Bennett signature on the court, all the names of the assistant coaches, the players, the water boys, the towel boys, the towel girls, the clipboard holders, the chair runners, the video processors, everyone tied to the basketball program had their name in small, very clear, easy to read detail. Also, is it commemorized? What's the word?
Commemorated?
Commemorated in perpetuity within Tony Bennett's signature. He takes the spotlight away from himself and gives it to others. And then during his remarks to those in attendance at the John Paul Jones Arena, he mentions his mom and dad and mentions everyone else but himself. It was the quintessential example of being third. And men and women of all shapes and sizes should have watched that 15 or 20-minute ceremony because it had me damn near close to tears. Our benefit as a community and as a Wahoo community, as fans, we benefited from Tony Bennett much more than he did from UVA. And I sincerely mean that. Special. I enjoyed it with our oldest son and my wife while our youngest son was napping. All right, Judah Wickower, let's weave you back in on a two-shot. Parents were watching with bated breath on Friday afternoon as 11, 12, 13-year-olds were protesting in Crozet, Immigration, Customs and Enforcement, and Border Patrol at Henley Middle School, which on paper is the top statistically performing middle school in Albemarle County and its public school system. Frankly, probably any of the public schools, this is the best middle school from a statistical standpoint, SOL standpoint, in Central Virginia. Rick Vrahovac, the letter was leaked to us. I actually counted it over the weekend by 142 sets of parents. I got 142 unique communication pings, if you may, from folks tied to Henley with Principal Vrahovac's, call them instructions. This is how you're going to protest. Some said, why is he giving them an out? He's basically saying protests are not allowed, but if you do it, this is the way you do it. I understand that perspective, but now with the benefit of the hindsight, I think Vrahovac, the principal, his administration at Henley, and the teachers handled this protest as well as could possibly be done. 9 students stepped foot off grounds at Henley. Those 9 were sent home. I'm curious if it's an official suspension for the 9.
If I had to guess, I would say it's probably not. I would imagine that as I think we've seen with most of these schools, the protests are largely, if not approved, at least what's the word I'm looking for? I think we have fair knowledge that that teachers and administrators are behind at least some of the desire for students to protest, and so I would think that that yes, there are consequences for leaving grounds of the school, especially as a middle schooler. But I would be surprised if the principal makes this punitive.
Those are assumptions right there made by
They are
Judah.
assumptions.
I was direct messaging with one Henley middle school teacher last night via Instagram. We're not going to utilize her name. If you'd like to read the correspondence because you are a part of the show, it's on the I Love CVille Instagram. We do not utilize her name. We do not identify her, but it was probably a 20-minute interaction on IG DMs. She indicated that no one in the building was pro-protest. No one was against the protest. They were solely focused on the safety of the children. She indicated that how this protest was handled, it was extremely strategic. She indicated that 9 of the students were sent home. I don't know officially whether they were suspended or not. If I also had a guess, I would imagine that it's not a permanent record blemish. I would hope it, at the very least inconvenience to parents to pick up their kids as a way of potential punishment for the parents that should then be conveyed to the kids. The Henley Middle School students also had a planned, according to this teacher, protest for the 3 o'clock hour, early 3 o'clock hour, where administrators were made aware of this, and they met the students at the entry and exit points and told them to get their heinies back in the classrooms, that they wouldn't be allowed outside the building. Rick Verhoeven, I've known for 25 years. I first met Rick Verhoeven when he was the head football coach at Albemarle High School. I was in my early 20s covering R.J. Archer, the quarterback. Andy Argold was on that team. He was a defensive end and a tight end. I've heard through the grapevine, this is a side note. I think this is, no, I can speak about this on the record. Andy Argold's A-Squared Pizza is for sale in the Forest Lakes Shopping Center. If you're interested, let me know. I'm getting off track, but Verhoeven was the head football coach at Albemarle High School, and he was leading young men in what was then the Commonwealth District. And Albemarle High School was often outmanned and outnumbered in the Commonwealth District because the Commonwealth District was a AAA district, and the enrollment, especially for a sport like football, student body size determines a lot of success in football. And Albemarle was one of the smaller schools of the Commonwealth District, so they were often middle of the pack. 6-4, 7-3 was a good year for Albemarle High School. But I watched Verhoeven lead young men into adversity often on Friday nights, and he did it with integrity, with character. He did it the right way. He was always willing to speak to me, and I'm like a 20-year-old kid at the time. After the game, after Albemarle High School, after the football team either won or lost, and in those confines or that environment of football, reporter and head coach, I got to know this person, and that relationship has continued. He is a fine man. And to have him manage what some would call a crisis, what others would call the First Amendment or a student's right to protest, depending on what side of the fence you're on, you could pick few people better equipped to lead a strategy for how to manage this and to diminish or minimize as much collateral damage as possible. And I think they did it. Now that 4 schools, we've had 4 protests, Charlottesville, Monticello, Albemarle, and Henley, over the last week and a half, the expectation is you'll probably see more of these. I think Henley probably gave you the blueprint. And I'll say this again before I get off to the next topic. If we don't have consequences, look, we're all entitled to freedom of speech and the First Amendment. But just because we have the right to speak freely does not mean consequences are not associated with that free speech. It's important to realize that. There are multiple life lessons here. Life lesson, of course, you can protest. Life lesson, there's consequences to how you protest and when you protest and the time you protest and how you go about protesting. And I think another dynamic that needs to be considered here is someone needs to ask the Albemarle County School Board, Matthew Haas, maybe this is a question for the Board of Supervisors to ask of the school board, how much of taxpayer resources and taxpayer dollars have been allocated to these 4 protests? Have incremental taxpayer resources been allocated to diminishing or managing or hedging collateral damage here? Because we know at Monticello High School and Albemarle High School, additional patrol officers were in the vicinity to manage these protests. Do we just chalk this up? Well, those police officers are already on the clock, so it's not additional revenue? It's not additional taxpayer resources? Or do we not see the reality is the opportunity cost of having additional police officers that are on the clock managing kids that are protesting, walking down Rio Road to Stonefield is the opportunity cost associated with the least safe community because resources are stretched thin, and those resources are already thinly stretched to begin with. So who's going to get that data point? How much money taxpayer-wise is allocated to these 4 protests? Judah Wickhauer, your thoughts, then we'll get to the viewers and listeners here on the program.
Yeah, I think we've had a lot of great comments over the last week, and I'm glad to see that not everyone is so blasé with kids running out of school. I've also seen a lot of people think that we hate kids protesting, which isn't the case. We just want them to be safe, and we don't think that school time is the proper time for leading protests, for leaving school, and the fact that so many people are okay with it, are okay with kids just running around the city is a little strange.
I've never had a problem with kids protesting in First Amendment. My only problem was kids protesting during the school day when they should be in classroom learning.
Yeah.
Because kids have missed enough school already in the second semester due to snowmageddon and snowpocalypse. And the last thing I want is the educational gap to widen, because private schools got into classrooms faster than kids with snowmageddon and snowpocalypse. They did not have 2-hour delays, and there's no disruption tied to these ice truancy protests. It's very frank, and that makes folks uncomfortable because parents want even playing fields for their kids. But if we're not careful, those even playing fields won't be even for much longer. I want to give some love on the program to a new partner of the show, and that's Jerry Hootie Ratcliffe and JerryRatcliffe.com. We got a big announcement coming this week at JerryRatcliffe.com, which is the source of the source when it comes to Virginia athletics, JerryRatcliffe.com. If there's anything UVA, basketball, football, transfer portal, baseball, anything Wahoo related, it's JerryRatcliffe.com. The man has covered the University of Virginia for nearly 60 years. He's an institution. He's in the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame. And stand by this week for a pretty significant announcement at JerryRatcliffe.com, which we're excited to spotlight and feature on the show. Next headline, Judah Wickhauer, what do you got?
Next up, we've got Albemarle County versus the city. Who is more likely to cut real estate tax rates?
So this is important. There was something on CVille right now about Albemarle County supervisors being either hesitant or unsure about cutting real estate tax rates. Mm-hmm. The Albemarle County assessments are out. If you haven't opened the letter already, your assessment is up. Your anger, your bitterness, your disdain should not be allocated at assessors or the assessor offices at the various jurisdictions locally. They have to assess your house based at market value. Your disdain should be allocated to the elected officials who determine the real estate tax rates. Our friends, and they're watching the program right now, our friends, ladies and gentlemen, that are at CRP-CVille, let me get the Citizens for Responsible Planning. You can find them online at crp-cville.org. Citizens for Responsible Planning. They have a fantastic analysis on Charlottesville City property assessments, which you can find online at crp-cville.org/2026_assessments. Just extremely analytical analysis on 2026 assessments in the city. I'm going to give you the Cliff Notes version for the talk show here. I try to relay information in the most succinct way possible, and in an eighth grade level. Here it is. People want to live here. Charlottesville and Albemarle County in particular. Albemarle County most particular. Any county in Central Virginia that has the highest demand, it's Albemarle County, folks, and that's period, bar none. I was having a conversation with a extremely influential real estate broker this morning in the office, in the studio. We were talking about North Point and Brook Hill. If you haven't driven north of town, and I haven't driven north of town, I don't think in 42 months, north of Barracks Road, actually, tongue-in-cheek that, but it may be pretty close. I've been told that at Brook Hill and North Point, there's hundreds of additional single-family detached homes and attached product type. And that these single-family detached homes and attached product type, 800,000 your entry point, $1 million plus is the norm. Our partners of the program, Stanley Martin, are building hundreds. We'll give Stanley Martin some love. In Greene County, Stanley Martin Homes is dedicated to building homes that cater to each person's unique needs and lifestyles. High-quality single-family homes, townhomes, and condominiums that you can trust with innovative building mythologies. You have a perfect storm right now in Greene County on the Greene-Albemarle border, folks, and northern Albemarle at Brook Hill and North Point. And you have three extremely reputable builders, Corin Capshaw's Riverbend Development, Frank Bailiff's and Charlie Armstrong's Southern Homes, and Stanley Martin. And these three noteworthy builders are all building as the crow flies within, 5-6 miles of each other? And when three noteworthy builders, and you sprinkle in some Craig builders in there as well, are all building within 5 miles as the crow flies of each other, thousands of homes, and these thousands of homes, the ones in Greene County to the ones in Albemarle County, are going from 650, 700 to 1,300,000 and up. You have basically a small city being built within a city. A small city that's bridging Albemarle County and Greene County. And these folks are brilliant. They're dovetailing, they're riding the coattails of the biotechnology beltway and AstraZeneca and Rivanna Station and Rivanna Futures. Of course you're going to build incremental housing type in one of the soon-to-be epicenters of employment where hundreds of six-figure earners are going to be working 50 to 60 hours a week.
Yeah.
It's genius. And when we're talking about assessments, your ire should not be allocated to the assessor's office. It should be allocated to city councilors and supervisors because they can choose to cut the tax rate. And they could ride the momentum of the incremental dollars that comes in with the assessed value, but lower the tax rate so you and me and Judah, you, the viewer and listener, can have the same bill in check, the same bills the previous year. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to ask you the question. I'll ask you the question first, Judah. Charlottesville City or Albemarle County more likely to cut the tax rate because they realize us as citizens are rubbing 2 nickels and hoping to turn it into a quarter?
I would have to say I see it more likely that the Albemarle County supervisors would lower the tax rate, but I don't think it's going to happen until we start to see some of the tax gains coming from AstraZeneca and all this other stuff, the new rooftops and all that. So. Maybe 5 or 10 years from now, but we'll have different supervisors by then. So, who knows?
So, who's your answer?
My answer is I would find it more likely that Albeco would lower the tax rate, but I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon.
Okay. So you think neither Albemarle County supervisors nor Charlottesville City councilors will cut the tax rate this year?
That's correct.
I agree with that. Albemarle County is deliberating a $250 million high school.
Yeah.
Charlottesville City Council has extremely legitimate headwinds associated with meals tax collection, sales tax collection, lodging tax collection, and assessments in the city that have not popped to the tune of Albemarle County's. Mm-hmm. On top of that, Charlottesville City's got collective bargaining with teachers, with police. Everyone's unionizing.
Yeah.
This is another example of why would you want to be a supervisor? 25% of the people support you, 25% of the people don't know your name, and 50% of the people hate your guts.
You really think hate?
Despise you? It would seem to me, and maybe I'm wrong with this, and frankly, maybe I am wrong with this. It would seem to me the top way people vote is with their pocketbook, but maybe not in Albemarle County. Because people didn't seem to gripe and offer grief or disdain for the 4-cent tax rate from last year, the uptick.
Yeah.
If I had a bet, it would be neither is going to cut the rate.
Yeah.
How about you, viewers and listeners? Regardless, you're going to have to do more with less with your household budget, whether you want to hear that or not. Anything I'm missing on that?
I don't think so.
Comments are coming in. We'll highlight some of them on the program today. Kate Schartz is watching the program. Queen of Ivy. She says, our assessment went up 20%. Oof. She says, they want to fund a new high school and there's no money for it. There's no chance the tax rate is going lower in Albemarle County.
Yeah.
Not only, and she's right, not only, Kate, do they want to fund a new $250 million high school, but they also have collective bargaining to deal with Albemarle County staff. Mm-hmm. That's why I think it is a really fair question to ask with the truancy protest. Are tax dollars allocated to hedging risk? And parents have pushed back on me saying it's all about dollars and cents. Well, that's how the community in the world runs.
Yeah. If you want a tax break, but our police and others are, like you said, taking not only their time, but resources to to protect them, guide them, whatever. That's tossing money away. Not tossing money away, but you know what I mean. It's spending money where it didn't need to be spent.
Ginny Hu says on the program that Henley Middle School departure, Judah, is 4:10 p.m.
Wow.
James Watson, William McChesney, welcome to the broadcast. Vanessa Parkhill watching the program. 9 students were sent home for leaving grounds. How many others participated in a way where they did not leave grounds, like a walk around the building? What was the remainder of the student body doing while the protest was going on? I've been told that the Henley Middle School truancy protest was the least attended of all the protests, and it was not even close.
I think that's
Albemarle High School legitimately had hundreds of kids skipping school, walking in the street, and walking to Stonefield. Charlottesville High School had hundreds of kids. Literally, my wife said she was navigating 45-mile-an-hour traffic in our family Ford Explorer while hundreds of Charlottesville High School students were on the road.
Yeah.
Jason Noble watching the program. He says his son participated as a middle schooler at the Covenant School Upper School, where middle schoolers at Covenant were invited to a discussion about ICE and their warrant requirements. 6th to 8th graders were welcome to gather during a study hall or lunch period to discuss the topic, which was facilitated by the school. Jason Noble says, safely within the walls of the school. He said his son participated in this, and the turnout was great. That was weeks ago, before all the protests, done in a safe environment with teacher supervision, with consideration on topic matter from both sides, without folks telling them how to think. It was an open forum.
I think that's awesome.
James Watson watching the program. The thing I can't wrap my head around with 29 Northern Albemarle, Greene County, is with all that growth of pharmaceuticals and federal jobs, the only roadway they have is Route 29, which is already horrible during and after work hours. There's no plan to create a bypass or alternative route, so it may up being a Fredericksburg in the next 3 years. I made the same comment to the real estate broker that was in our office. Can you imagine putting 2,000 to 4,000 incremental houses literally in the middle of Route 29? That's what's happening right now. Yeah. You have 2,000 to 4,000 incremental houses coming to the middle of Route 29 in the Polo Grounds, northern Albemarle County, Greene County line, and then you're going to throw in AstraZeneca and biotechnology,
Right.
boom. You are not going to want to be anywhere near this come rush hour in any capacity.
No doubt.
Tina White, Breeden watching the program. I got a 1:15 phone call, so we got 2 minutes left on the broadcast. We're going to have to save some of these topics till tomorrow. Ginny Who has these questions. I don't know what magic Judah worked, but look what happened. The show is on the feed on Twitter now. Did you work some magic? I think is that Twitter's update?
I did know they didn't have an update. I got some advice from the company that helps us stream this, and they suggest that I can share the Twitter feed to your feed. I don't know if
Well, it's working. You fixed it. There you go.
I don't know if it'll allow comments, but at
She's
least
commenting. She's commenting. Yeah.
oh, on there.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Ginny Who also
Well,
says,
that's
do we
awesome.
know for certain those officers were active duty at the time? I've hired off-duty officers, both city and county, and let me tell you, that cost a pretty penny. I think we should know the exact, if there is any kind of tax allocation to managing these protests. That is a fair question.
Yeah.
Who's going to ask the Albemarle County School Board that question? Philip Reese, the chair of the Albemarle County Republican Party, often speaks before the Albemarle County School Board in the public portion. And Phil Reese is going to join us on the show on Thursday. Perhaps he could ask this question. Who's going to ask Allison Spillman and the school board that question? Handsome Hank Martin is watching the program. He says, the Charlottesville City Council has painted itself into a corner. It cannot lower real estate taxes at all. Albemarle County cannot, as they are now considering a $250 million high school, and the teachers union in Albemarle County is demanding more as well. There's Handsome Hank Martin. Handsome Hank Martin, you've made the program better. I hope you watch and contribute to the program moving forward. I sincerely mean that. It's the 1:15 marker. I have a phone call with the client I'm going to take now. We're going to have to save some of these topics for tomorrow's show where we can run in full. 12:30 to 1:30, the I Love CVille show, the water cooler of content and conversation. Thanks to fantastic people like Charlottesville Sanitary Supply and Charlottesville Swimming Pool Company. John and Andrew Vermillion at Charlottesville Sanitary Supply and Charlottesville Swimming Pool Company, folks, are people you can trust. For Judah Wickhauer, I'm Jerry Miller.